Hi everyone, I'm Rincey and this is Rincey Reads. Today I'm going to be doing the Books and Life tag. This tag was started by Steve Donahue, and frequent or long-term viewers of the channel know that I don't do a lot of tags. It's mostly because I find most of them boring. Or I shouldn't say the tags themselves are boring. That's very mean. What I mean to say is that my answers for a lot of them are either boring in and of themselves, or I just can't think of a good answer for the tag or whatever. So I just don't watch a lot of tags, and I don't feel like I have anything interesting to contribute with some of the tags that go around. But this is one where I saw it recently and I was like, oh, this would be a fun one to release specifically today, the day it goes live, because it's my 35th birthday, which is very cool and exciting. Your girl's in her mid-30s, and I just thought, talking about books and life would be an appropriate video to release on your 35th birthday. So here I am. I was not tagged by anyone because I feel like at this point everyone knows that tagging me in tags is pointless because I rarely do them. So yeah, I'll just link down below to the original tag, and I also won't tag anyone at the end because this one has been going around for a while. So if you're interested in doing this tag, you consider yourself tagged. Okay, first question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a normal person and 10 being the late Harold Bloom, which, side note, that's a super niche reference even for book people. How much are reading and books a part of your life? Thinking about this, I would say I'm in the 7 to 8 range. Anyone who's on BookTube can't be lower than a 7. That's my personal rule. Like, if you are making the effort of recording and or editing videos and talking about books relatively regularly on the internet, you can't be lower than a 7. I would maybe bump it up a little bit more, but probably not more than that though, because at least in my opinion, I'm not like quite as into books as other people are. Like, this is all relative. And again, I follow people on social media who talk about books, like bookstagrammers, and obviously I watch a lot of booktube and things like that, but like I don't spend all of my time thinking about books and talking about books and all of this stuff. Like, I have all of this, and I read more than the average person because the average person only reads like one book a year. And like, I make an effort to like go to bookstores and shop at independent bookstores when I'm traveling and things like that, and I like bookish related things, but I'm not quite as into it like some people. Like, I don't care about book accessories, like fancy book ends or book stamps or those little stickers you can put in a book saying this book belongs to me. There's like a lot of like cute kishy things on the internet that are like book related that I'm like, that's real dumb. Or that's just not for me. I don't care about any of this stuff. I don't like follow authors very often on like Twitter or Instagram unless they seem like actually interesting people. I do follow, obviously, like I said, like some bookstagrammers and stuff like that, but it's pretty minimum. Like, the majority of like my Twitter feed and my Instagram feed and all of that stuff is non-book related stuff. So yeah, like I definitely like pay attention to certain things in regards to books, and I do like follow some book people, and I do pay attention to some of that stuff, but like that's not like everything that I'm into, and it doesn't take up all of like my time and energy and stuff like that. And even with the way my reading's going this year, like I'm not even reading that many books. I feel like I don't really quite have my finger on the pulse like I used to. I feel like I'm in the 7 to 8 range where like I obviously read more than a normal human, and there are definitely things about me that are super nerdy. For example, the sweatshirt that I'm wearing today was not done on purpose. Like, I just happened to wear this sweatshirt. Like, I have like things like this where I talk about, like, I have like library gear, and I have like calendars in my Google Calendar that are specifically about book releases, so that way I know about when books are coming out in the future that I'm really excited about. Like, there are things like that. I would say like I'm a library super user and things along those lines, but in the big grand scheme of things, I would say I'm closer to like maybe 7, 8 range over like a 9, 10 range. Question 2. Where does your personal library stand right now in relation to the rest of your life? Do you have more books now than you ever had? Fewer? How has your library changed? I definitely own the most books that I've ever owned before, but to me personally, that's sort of the natural progression that my library will probably always take. I look at my library as kind of a collection of all the books that I've loved over the course of my life. So I very rarely like weed books out anymore because I feel like I've done a pretty good job of like weeding out the books that I don't want to keep. All of the books that I have now are either books that I thoroughly adore or are books that have like a specific memory attached to them or something along those lines. Like I look at these books almost like photographs of various points of my life. And so I feel like from now until whenever, the library will only continue to go because obviously I'll continue to read books and fall in love with new books and things along those lines. The one thing that I will say that I'm very proud of is the fact that my physical to be read pile has gotten to about the smallest that it's been since I've started purchasing my own books. I'm currently sitting around the 30 book mark. I want to get it even smaller than that. At a certain point, I had over 150 unread books, and so that's been the part of my library that I've been trying to pare down over time and just utilize my library more often and only buy books on like special occasions or like, go to a bookshop on a special occasion, like when I'm traveling and things like that, or if it's my birthday, and like make the acquisition part a lot smaller, or like just get books from the library and buy the ones that I really, really love. So yeah, I expect my library to continue to grow, but the part that I want to get smaller is the physical to be read pile that I'm working on. Maybe there will come a point where it's just like too many books and then I'll deal with it then. But I mean, right now I'm sitting at between 500 to 600 books and they fit pretty well inside of my bedroom. It's taking over my bedroom, but they still all fit. So I can only imagine that like when I have my own place and live on my own, if I have like a living room full of books, that'll hold a decent amount of books. So yeah, I'm not too worried about my library continuing to grow over time. Question number 3, take a mental step back and ask yourself, what is most likely the first bookish impression a newcomer would have in your home? Okay, so this is going to be a pretty short answer for me because I don't live on my own. Like I still live with my mom. My sister and my niece are currently living here as well. So like all of my books only exist in my room. And so if someone is to come over to the house, they have no idea what's happening in here. Because people, rarely go into each other's bedrooms. The only time people come up to my room is specifically because they know I have a large book collection and they want to see my books. Or, sometimes my friends will come up because they're borrowing a book and so they want to like look through my book collection. But when people first come into my room and see my books, they are just like, holy cow, this is a lot of books. And I think it's like emphasized by the fact that I have a relatively small bedroom. And so it's just like an entire wall is just books, but an entire wall is basically also only 3 bookshelves. So, there's stuff like that. There's the fact that I have a dresser over here that I keep books inside of. And so people just find that extremely amusing and all that stuff. So yeah, like in order to see the book collection, you have to already know me and know that I'm a reader and stuff like that. And that'll probably change again, like I said, once I have my own living space and I have like a living room or something along those lines that I can put my books into. In that case, they'll just see that I'm a person who likes to read a lot. Question number 4, how often, if ever, do you clean or reorganize your books? So I was generally someone who reorganized her books every year. So basically what I would do is I like make a pile back here. You can kind of see it, which is like the books that I've read recently. So like once I was done like talking about a book in a video, I would figure out whether or not I wanted to keep it. I would put it on this shelf down here. And then at the end of every year, I would go through those books and put them away in their proper place on the bookshelf because these are organized into fiction and nonfiction and then organized by author. And there's also a section for comics. So like anything I read over the course of the year, at the end of the year would get put away. However, I did not do this at the end of 2020. And so I'm currently backlogged quite a bit. And so I feel like I have a decent amount of work that I need to do at the end of this year in order to properly put away these books. And I do want to properly put away these books because this is getting a little bit chaotic for me. So yeah, I usually organize my books once a year. At the end of the year, I go through all of the books I've acquired over the course of the year and like make sure that they're ones that I want to keep. And then I put them away properly on the bookshelves and redo sort of everything. And it's a nice way to sort of like go through all of your books and to make sure they're all ones you want to keep. And yeah, it just like gives me a chance to really like work through my entire bookshelf. So once a year is how I like to do it. Question number 5, on average, how many books do you acquire in a given week? I find it very telling that it says specifically in a week because I feel like, are people getting like more than one book a week? That feels really, really excessive to me. I would say in a month, I probably get maybe 2 books, but there are exceptions for that. So like I said before, like I don't really go to bookstores very often. And so like every now and then I will go to a bookstore and then I will get like more than one book. Usually when I go to a bookstore, I give myself a limit. And so then I'm buying maybe like 2 or 3 books, but I'm definitely not buying more than like 4 books a month unless it's just like a one big splurge purchase, but then I haven't been like book shopping in like, 3 to 6 months sort of thing. So yeah, this is partially because I'm trying to get my own physical TBR down, and partially because I'm getting a lot of books in the library and I'm only buying my favorites and things along those lines. So yeah, I'm not buying a lot of books anymore. In a previous version of Rincey, maybe like 5 years ago, she could have answered an every week book question, and I also don't get that much book mail anymore from publishers and all this stuff, so I've really worked to limit the inflow into this house. So yeah, maybe 2 to 4 books a month at most. Number 6 is, what song is your current earworm? And I haven't been listening to as much music as I used to for a variety of reasons. And so I feel like I don't have like a super great answer to this question, but one song that I've listened to recently that I really, really enjoy, and I've ended up listening to multiple times, is there's a remix of Adele's new song, Easy on Me, that I adore. So like I really enjoy Adele's voice. I was a really big fan of her first couple of albums, and that makes me sound super hipster, but like her latest song, I was like, this is good. Like obviously Adele's amazing at singing, but it wasn't really doing it for me. And then someone remixed this song and it blew my mind. I was like, holy cow, I love this version of the song. So I will link that up in the cards and down below for y'all to check out. It honestly, in my opinion, is a superior version of the song. So yeah, that's the song I'm currently loving. Number 7 is, what percentage of your self-control do you retain in a well-stocked bookshop? Which I think this is a very funny way to phrase this question, because am I supposed to be like 35%? At this point, I've done a pretty good job of maintaining like 60 to 70% of my self-control. This like answer is dependent on a bunch of different things. One is like, when was the last time I had been book shopping? Because like the longer it's been since I've been in a bookshop, the harder it is for me to maintain my self-control. And then 2, it's also like, what's the state of my physical to be read pile? Because that to me is like the ultimate thing that I'm trying to keep under control. So like if my numbers are getting pretty low, I feel more comfortable buying more books, obviously. But if my numbers are higher than I like them to be, then obviously I work on maintaining that self-control. And then the third thing is like, how many books can I find of there in that bookshop that I've read already that I want to own? So there are certain bookshops like Unabridged here in Chicago that I adore, and I will always spend a lot of money in, or end up with a lot of books, because they have an amazing sale section. And so I can often find books in that sale section that I've already read that I wouldn't mind owning on my bookshop, or owning on my own bookshelves. Justifying a $5 book purchase when I've already read the book is easier. If I'm on vacation, I am a little bit better in terms of self-control, because I can only bring home so many books. That being said, I recently went to Portland and I went to Powell's and I ended up bringing home like 15 books, but I planned for it in advance and only had like half a suitcase full when I went there. So I knew I was going to be coming home with a bunch of books, and I like planned for that accordingly. So I feel like at this point, like if I know I'm going to a bookshop, which is, again, my bookstore shopping is usually pretty planned, I usually have a number in mind and I can usually stick to that number. So I feel like I've done a pretty good job of keeping things relatively under control, but I'm not going to pretend like I'm amazing at this at all. There have been so many times where I've gone in and been like, I'm going to buy 2 to 3 books, and then I've walked out with like 5. Number 8 is, do you ever feel the need to take a break from books? If so, what form does it take? Yes, of course. I feel like, doesn't everybody? I don't know. Maybe not everybody. Actually, I shouldn't assume those things. But yes, I go through like phases where I'm reading a whole lot and then I'm not reading as much. I do tend to read like a little bit every day right now, but there definitely have been stretches of time where I've gone like a week or so without reading very much, and it's not that big of a deal for me. In terms of what form it takes, it really does vary. Sometimes I'm watching a lot of TV. These days I'm watching a lot of Twitch streamers. Sometimes I'm watching a lot of YouTube. Sometimes I'm playing games on my computer. Sometimes, if it's nice out, I'm out in the world and I'm exploring and I'm going for walks and I'm hanging out with my friends and things like that. Yeah, I feel like I have a variety of interests and a variety of ways that I like to spend my time. So I'm very rarely like always in a book reading mood. I think especially once it's warmer outside and things like that, I want to be like out of this house as much as possible and exploring and doing things like that. So yeah, it varies quite a bit. But these days I would say like my time is probably taken up either by watching streamers on Twitch or by like spending time with family and friends. Question number 9. When you meet a new person, how long does it take for you to bring up books? I think it depends on the situation in which I'm meeting a person. So, like, if I'm meeting people, say, at work and we're doing kind of like an icebreaker situation, or people are like, hey, what do you like to do in your free time? Then I will probably bring up books and reading and things along those lines. Otherwise, I don't like bring it up immediately. I usually wait a little bit, partially because, like, most people don't enjoy reading. And so talking about books is not a useful conversational topic for a lot of situations because like the other person won't be able to contribute very much to it, and it just feels like I'm bragging about stuff if I talk about books and reading for a really long period of time, or it's like a very like self-centered conversation. So for me, if I'm talking to someone else in a relatively like neutral space, like if I'm, at a friend's birthday party and there's someone there who I don't know who I'm having a casual conversation with, I probably won't talk about books and reading. I'll probably talk about TV shows or movies or anything along those lines, or just general life stuff, or things that are happening in world events, because I want it to be a conversation where both people or all of the people can participate as much as possible. But if people are like, hey, what do you do for fun? I might mention like reading. Sometimes I'll mention my YouTube video in like a work capacity and stuff like that, where people are like, what are the side things that you work on? If I'm in a situation with like my friends who know about all this stuff, then they might bring it up, in which case, like, again, I'm happy to talk about it, but I feel like it's not a great point for conversations, if that makes sense. Like, there's a reason why I started my YouTube channel, is because I wanted to find people who I could talk about books with. The people who are like reading at this level or nerding out at this level about books are few and far between. So I feel like talking about books in a regular conversation, unless you're in a situation that, or setting that it makes sense, there are other topics that are probably better. Question number 10. Have you given any thought or made any provisions about your personal libraries after you croak? Which is the way he phrased it. No, because I don't care what happens to them. This is all just stuff. Like, none of this is like super meaningful. If like my friends and family want to come in here and grab a book or something like that, they're more than welcome to, but like they're also more than welcome to just like give them all away, donate them somewhere, sell them to half price books. Like, it doesn't really matter to me. Like, I keep these books for me. I don't keep these books for other people, and I would never want to burden someone else with these books if they find it to be a burden. Again, if someone wants to come in and look through these books and keep some for themselves, again, more than welcome to, but these books are here for me, and so once I'm gone, they can go too. And number 11, are you known among your friends and loved ones for your weird and probably unhealthy relationship with books? How dare you? I have a strong but not weird or unhealthy relationship with books. Maybe it's a little bit unhealthy. Of course I am. I shouldn't say of course, but like, my YouTube channel is known by everyone who knows me. My Instagram is just my name, and so my friends and family who are on Instagram follow me on there, and that at this point has basically just turned into a Bookstagram because I don't care about posting anything about my real life on there anymore. Yeah, everyone in my life knows I'm a bookish person, and if they know, that is if they know me at all. So this is not a secret at all. All right, so those are all of the questions. Feel free to leave a comment down below if you have any questions or follow-up about anything I said here. And as I said at the top of the video, if you're interested in doing this tag but you haven't been tagged yet, and you can consider this me tagging you. So yeah, that's all I have for now, and thanks for watching.